In this video, I'm going to talk about the ConMan application, an application that's been developed to help support some of the technical aspects of the FHIR Connectathons. You can get to ConMan from the main Confluence page. Here is the link right here, and when I click on that, it will take me into ConMan. Now, before I go any further, I would like to acknowledge the support and assistance of InterSystems, which enable me to continue to develop and support the application. Without their assistance, it would be considerably more difficult. So thank you, InterSystems. When you first load ConMan, you will be asked to log in. If you've already logged in, so if you're coming back to ConMan, it will remember and won't prompt you again. The purpose of the login is purely to be able to associate, in particular, tests that you might create or results with a particular person. I don't use the login in any other way, manner or form, so you will not get spammed by entering your details here. So if you enter in your name, if you're already in the system, then it will come up by means of typing, but if not, there's a register new person option that you can use. And after you log in, you get to the main page here. As you can see, the application is divided into a number of tabs, each of which has got a particular function. I will move through these very quickly at a high level and then dive into some of the more interesting stuff. So the home page is just a page that gives you a summary of the event. Here is a list of the tracks in ConMan. Now, these tracks should be the same as what is in Confluence, but occasionally may not be. Our policy is to pick up an instance of ConMan from one Connectathon and move it in to the second one, and so sometimes you might see tracks which are no longer active, so they can simply be ignored. You should use the Confluence page as the main source of truth for this. And we have here a list, as I've said, a summary. There's also general information here, and this can be quite handy if you know what you want to do but just not quite sure how to do it. So this is these common tasks over here. Record your interest in a track, register a server. I'll show these in just a second, but here is a summary within the app itself. The track details and testing tab gives further details about each track. Implementation guides lists the implementation guides that are known to ConMan. These can be associated with a track, so that when you record a result of some sort, you can indicate which implementation guide you are testing. The Peoples tab stores people. So these are people who have attended a Connectathon. Because of that policy we have of rolling over the ConMan, you'll see that there are a number of people here. If I want to filter on a particular person, I can do so like this. You'll notice that if I select, say, Dave Carlson, well, he hasn't indicated any tracks in particular, but I'd see details over there. If you indicate yourself, me, David Hay, then I see more information. I see my primary track, any servers that I might have established. I also have the ability to edit my information in here. And here is where I can indicate what tracks I'm interested in attending. Now, this will appear in the track tab, as we'll see towards the end of this presentation, and it's purely indicative. You're allowed to have a single primary track and then any number of tracks of interest. So to add a track, say I'm also interested in clinical reasoning, I simply select that, click the add button, and then this will now appear when I look at the track. So I'll update that. I'm going to skip to servers first. This is probably one of the most useful parts of ConMan because it allows you to indicate that you have a server and your server serves some sort of purpose. And you can also use it the other way around to find a server. So for example, I could look and see and find the Happy server, and I can see that there's the Happy R4 server, R5 server, and Rob Howsam also has an instance of Happy server. What's kind of handy is I get information here about the root of the server, so where I go to actually get data from or make my queries against, but I can also use this check availability tab, and what this will do is this will retrieve the conformance resource, sorry, the capability statement resource from the server using the metadata query and indicate whether that server is responding. So if you're not sure if a server is actually available, click on that tab and it will do a test for you. To add a new server, click on the new server button like so, and you can then enter quite a lot of information, the base of the server, you know, where the query goes to, if there's a proxy of some sort such as Touchstone, if you need an access token, if your application, your server actually exposes a user interface, you can put that here. So I won't add a new one here, it's hopefully pretty straightforward. But I will show that what you can do is you can also indicate that a server is useful for a given track. And you do that by selecting the server, so I'll come back to here, and then you can click the associated, you get the server capability statement coming through here, and here are the associated tracks. So if I wanted to say that this server is particularly good with clinical reasoning and clinical genomics, then I can do so down through here. And I can also indicate that this server is useful for a particular implementation guide. So maybe this server is particularly good for at-home in vitro test reports and also CDS hooks. And again, when I save that information, it is recorded in the system and is displayed alongside the track details, as we will see in a second. The Clients tab does the same sort of thing for clients as for servers. You can indicate that you have a client that's available. It doesn't really do quite as much for servers. You can't associate a client with an implementation guide, for example, or for a particular track. If there's a demand for doing that, then we can certainly add it. But right now, the main function for clients is to be able to record tests which are done as part of the track testing. Again, I will show you that in just a second. And then these other tabs over here, the test results, list the test results, and these are just summary tabs which are of interest but not particular importance. I'm going to go now to the track details tab, and I want to look up the clinical reasoning. So I go to the clinical reasoning track here, and I'll draw your attention to a number of things. First off is we get the description here, including the link to the Confluence page. Again, just a reminder that in some cases this might go to an older link, so just watch out for that. Hopefully we'll have most of them updated by the time the event actually starts, but if not, it should be pretty straightforward to recognize that you've gone to an odd place. It is possible to put a link here to the chat, so that you can indicate, you can show what Zulip chat stream is appropriate for this event. And then there are other general links which can be shown here. So in this case, there have been links to standard data sets. There are a number of scenarios here, and so forth. I won't go into that in a great deal of detail. Over here is the link of the server, is the link to the servers. So if you recall, when I was on the servers tab, I indicated that the HAPI-R4 server was one that was particularly good for clinical reasoning, and so it appears in this list. I can go in and look at the server details by clicking on this link here like so, and that gives me access to the base and all of the other information about the server. I'll cancel out of there. The report tab is where I see the participants. So again, when I showed you the people tab, I showed you how you can go in and you can indicate that you are interested in a particular track, and so when you register that information there, it shows up in the report tab here, and that can be downloaded as well. The testing and feedback tab is where you can record the outcome of testing that you do. Now, it does depend on having scenarios set up in the tracks, and the track leads will do that, because it's the scenario against which you record a test. In order to avoid mucking up Bryn's tab, I'm going to change my track details, and instead I will go to a test track which I set up, and I will select that. and you'll notice I've set up a single scenario. So let's say I've done a test against the scenario, and the test will involve a particular client and a particular server, and it will have an outcome. So you'll notice I've already got a few tests which I've put in here as part of my checking. To add a new result, we click on this Add New Result link. And when I do that, I put in the name of the asserter. So this defaults to the currently logged in person, but can be anybody. And it's important to appreciate that this is just an assertion. It's not like Touchstone, which is doing more formal testing. This simply says, I did this test and here's what happened. I can indicate which server I was accessing, so let's choose that one for the sake of argument. If I've had roles associated with my track, then I can indicate the role that I was in when I did this test. I'm going to just choose server role 2. And then in the same way, we can select the client. So I'll say that's the Humana client acting in the client role 1. As I said before, if the track has been set up to say that it is testing a particular implementation guide, then I can select that implementation guide here. So I'm going to say I'm testing the advanced directives. And here I can put in the outcome of the test, whether it was a pass, whether it was a fail, partial, or just a note. So I'm going to say it failed. That's a pity. Any particular reason? Network issues. So this probably isn't one you'd do for real, because it's network issues are network issues, but just for the sake of argument. And then I save that result here, and you see it now appears in this list. And having appeared in that list, I can then go into the test results, and I will see that that test down through there. And I've got various ways I can report on that. I can analyze by track, for example. So most of these are in the test track. This here is the pass, fail, partial, note. I can look at them in various different displays and so forth. So that's ConMan. Just to wrap up on some of the key points, I would just remind you that the home page has got this common tasks, that the servers tab here allows you to locate, update or add servers, and also to associate them with tracks and implementation guides. And finally, track details down through here is where everything is sort of brought together into one place, and where we can see the servers which are associated with this track, the people who have indicated they're interested, and the results of testing and feedback. I hope you have found that of use. If you have any questions of any sort, then please reach out to the Zulip chat streams down through here, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you for watching.